Alright guys, Mother's Day Sunday. Beautiful day out here, no more rain, thank goodness. My yard is hosed, man. Got to take my mom out to lunch today, so hopefully after that I might have enough time to get the heads off the Monte Carlo in the back, at least start rebuilding those. So yesterday I stayed in the house, worked on my dash, and it took all day long to do it. I got my wiring harness back installed and did the modifications that I needed to do and did some mild restoration stuff, because it is the dash, and I may not ever pull it back out again, hopefully. But anyway, I was going to run you through some things that I did to get a little bit better results. Now I've restored a lot of G-body dashes. I have never done a Grand Prix. I've done a few Cutlasses and lots of Monte Carlos, and I've done a couple of Grand National dashes, you know, take them apart, clean stuff, and do all that. Now one thing I did do, luckily this car has the original wiring plugs, because I'm going to use a factory radio for now. I was planning on getting, since this is going to be a reminiscent of my high school car, I wanted the 2-knob, old school from like the late 80s, early 90s Alpine. If some of you guys will remember those, they had the big green square knobs, 6 of them, and they said Alpine on the cassette deck door. I actually got on eBay and found a couple, but they're a little higher than what I wanted to spend. I can't believe they're that expensive. I was just doing it for for the vintage part of it, because I never really listened to cassettes or anything like that. Pretty much just listened to the radio. Anyway, I got everything where it needs to be. Everything's bolted back together behind. I did cut the wire end, the bulb end off the ashtray illumination thing, because it is gray wire for illumination, and I found some wire in my wiring box that it's about the same gauge and about the same color gray, so I extended the wire. This will go to my gear indicator bulb socket. Also, I took all the best gauges and all the best lenses that I had here, and just basically used the best parts of everything that I had here. Now, as you can see, there is 3 dashes over here. 78 to 83 Regal, or Century, I guess. Probably station wagons too. Anyway, lots of stuff to pick and choose from, so it actually worked out really nice. I'm pretty happy. Having extra parts is the best, because you'll always have one part better than the other when you have 2. In this case, I had 4 total to choose from, so I ended up with some nice stuff. So some of the things I wanted to touch on. 78 to 83 has this gauge layout. They have brushed aluminum looking faces. So if you got an 83 Regal, that was first year for overdrive. So if you had a column shift car, they had an overdrive indicator deal here. So what I did was I went to a console shift, which has the indicator on the console. So I didn't want, a 3-speed indicator on my fuel gauge. So what I did was I found this decal at my local Ace Hardware. Now, it was longer. It come out to about here, I think. It had a red indicator for exit, but anyway, I cut it off. But there's enough meat on this, and this is the brushed aluminum look. In case you want to get one, that's the one it is. But anyway, you could cut it up above the T and go across to get you a little rectangle, and it would pretty much cover that, so you wouldn't have an indicator. And it's not a perfect match, but it is damn close, let me tell you. So it does have the brush lines the same direction. But anyway, it's just something you could do. Now, luckily, I had one dash here that was a console car. This was out of an 83 Turbo Regal, so it is blank there. So I actually used that one, and hopefully the dang thing's good. If the gauge is bad, I'll have to go back and cut this piece out and put in one of these, clean these up. Another thing I do, and I've done this for years, and it works, and it sounds, I know to some people, they're like, holy shit, that's too harsh, but it is not, because this is the results you get. I use Mother's Mag and aluminum polish on a microfiber rag, and that's the results I get from that. Now the trick is to make sure these are clean first before you try to polish them, because they get, dirt and grime down in them, down in these little bitty grooves, and if you just go straight to polish it, you're going to grind them, scratch the shit out of it from all the contaminants on it. So clean them first, then go back with mothers and clean them up real good. And it always turns out. Now, if you sit there and rubbed and rubbed and rubbed and rubbed and rubbed, it probably would end up scratching or putting a mark on that chrome. But just do it kind of nice and easy, and I use the soft side of the microfiber to wipe it off, and it just, this is the headlight switch obviously, so it turned out great. So I went through my heater slide control knobs and I found the best ones, and I polished those with Mother's Mag aluminum polish. To me, the dash, you know, I like that stuff to be crisp and just really clean, all the knobs and everything, because you look at it all the time. I mean, it's in your face all the time. But anyway, just something you can do there. It's pretty interesting tearing apart these, you know, dashes and looking at stuff and seeing differences between things. One thing I did notice is your power trunk release wire is actually taped up here out of the way, so the factory plug-in is actually already there. So that's pretty cool. I noticed that in all of these dashes. But I will be putting a power trunk in my car, of course. But I actually thought about trying to reuse this. This is a Amico spot check, you know. I thought these were pretty cool. Now, these are original out of the 80 Regal. I thought it'd be neat to have these scanned and redone, and then have new ones, and maybe, you know, put some new double-sided tape on it and put it somewhere. I thought that'd be kind of cool. Just, I don't know, I like that kind of shit, I guess. But anyway, one of the radios that I wanted to use is right here, but it has a bad spot on it, so I can't use it. A lot of the parts interchange off these factory style radios, like the knobs, you know, they'll interchange, and the AM/FM switch knob. This one says eject on it. It's an 8-track. I thought that was cool. This is from my 79 Century Turbo car. So I thought that was freaking awesome, but the chrome has got a big chunk gone off of it on the corner and a little bit under here. That really just kind of sucks. So I'm going to keep my eye out in the future at some swap meets and see if I can't find another one of these that possibly has the eject on it. And then, you know, I don't care if it works, I just thought it was cool. But like, these can be taken apart and the lens cleaned, and, you know, polish all these knobs individually and put it back together. And, you know, you could, what I was planning on doing was taking chrome vinyl and sticking across it, and then using an X-Acto knife and go around this inside and outside, and then pull it, and then you'd have a nice chrome lines again. You could use like a silver Sharpie or, you know, paint pen or whatever to get the silver on there, but the chrome is the thing for me. But anyway, it just kind of sucks. I really wanted to use that because of what it is. It's just a rare option. Now, I do have some 8-tracks in the house in a case my aunt gave to me. She was going to take them to the dump, and I was like, hell no. And it's like Fog Hat and Boston, and so that would have been pretty cool. There's you know, a lot of stuff when you get this many dashes and get to looking at them. There's lots of differences. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so I do plan on doing the turbo later in this car, the turbo V6. So I did put the turbo V6 gauge back in. It is complete with the wiring plugs and everything, so it'll be correct. It pretty much just has a pink power wire. I think this is it right here, and it goes in and plugs right into the exterior of the fuse box and ignition 1. Lower left corner of your fuse box. So I have it zip tied to the harness to plug in, and then there's a plug-in back there. It's blue and white wire, and it'll actually plug into one that goes through the firewall. Anyway, I did sand and polish the lenses, and this one is terrible on the clock. This is the best lens I had here. Even on the clock blanks, some of them look like they're etched, like you sandblasted them. They're that terrible, and it looks like scratches, but it's actually milking, or whatever you want to call it, inside the acrylic, so that you couldn't sand that out at all. It has completely ruined the lens. So what I'm going to do later, I'm not going to do it for now. I'll do this back, you know, later when I restore the car. I'm going to go get a sheet of clear acrylic that's the same thickness, and I'm just going to cut out a brand new one. If you've never done that, it is pretty easy. Now, these would be time consuming because you get all these little spots to do, and you can recreate these little angled edges for your tabs, you know, with a cutoff wheel, low speed, you know, and bevel it a little bit. If you ever drill a hole in acrylic, make sure you use the drill on reverse. Let it melt through. If you put it on forward, it'll crack it every time. I learned that a long time ago on acrylic. But anyway, I sanded these with 2500 grit paper, and I buffed them, and they're as good as they're going to get. I mean, they're just all kind of foggy, and there's just no fixing it. They're just 30 years old basically. But I did use the best gauges and everything, and cleaned all the contacts on the back of the circuit board and the bulb housings and everything. So it took hours. It pretty much took all day to do that. I got the knob cleaned up for my wiper switch. I polished my lens on this as well. Now here's another cool little deal you can do at home. These always get dull and faded over time. Use Mother's Mag and aluminum polish on a rag again and clean the hell out of this. Now what I do is I use a toothbrush with 409, Windex, whatever, and spray it on there, and then I use the toothbrush and I try to get what's left of the white out of there, because they always are, they're missing, like some of the white's missing, if I can find one here. They just look tattered, but anyway, clean out as much. You don't have to get it all out, just get the loose off basically, and then go back with your Mother's Mag and polish the shit out of it. Then take a brush with Tester's model car enamel. You can use gloss white, flat white. I think this is flat, because the flat dries a hell of a lot faster than gloss. But anyway, brush paint it. Now you can just glob it in there and you can get it all over the face. Then fold up a paper towel really tight, as many squares as you can get. Take the Tester's brush thinner, because that stuff's not harsh on plastic, and just kind of flip it over on the rag, and then wipe one direction a couple of times, and it'll clean that off just like that. So now the wording's crisp, and this is all back shiny plastic again. So just another little trick you can do on your G-body stuff, or whatever, GM stuff. I did notice Kerbin sells a little stainless stick-on deal here, really thin, because these are supposed to have a chrome outline. Now I'll get those later when I restore the car, but for now I just went ahead and used Mother's Mag and aluminum polish and removed what was left of the chrome, because some of it was missing in places and it just looked like hell. So I just went ahead and cleaned it all off. Now the Mother's polishes black plastic like crazy. It'll make that stuff look good. Pretty good stuff. Anyway, I did put in new speakers, and I used my factory wiring. It just plugged right on. I didn't have to change the connectors. I just plugged them on there. Those are just cheap ones from eBay. I don't remember what brand they were. They were real cheap. It was like 20 bucks or 15 bucks or something for the pair. Another thing I did, you could do it with the trip on your speedometer as well. The stem here, these are always surface rusted. I've seen it on Monte Carlos as well that I've messed with, and Cutlasses. The stem's always rusty. Now you could go in there and brush paint that, and you'd have brush lines, and you could possibly get it on your gauge. That is heat shrink tubing on there, so that's a nice little trick, and it'll never rust again. You'll never see anything. Now I did have to open the hole up a little bit to clear it, but anyway, the little clock knob I had, out of the ones I had here, this was the best one. I had one that was solid rust. It was just terrible. But anyway, guys, I guess that's it. I'm gonna get my ducks screwed in here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put a dash in, and then it's probably gonna be time to go in there and get ready for Mother's Day luncheon. I did wash my ducks out inside with a brush cleaner, because they are always full of heavy dirt and dust and just crap, dead bugs, whatever can get down in the defrost ducts. But anyway, at least it won't smell or blow crap out when I turn the fan on high. But anyway, guys, so that's the plan today, is get the dash in, duct dash, and then I'm going to try to get the heads off that 305 HO in the back. So anyway, here's your update for Sunday.